And let's please bring in Kevin Karius from Sports 1440 Edmonton. And while we have Dickie here, Jim Young's watching. Dick, Dirty 30, he's watching in Armstrong, BC. He says, my first year with the Vikings, I was on the practice squad to the last 2 games of the year. And the next year, I made the team. That year, I got a permanent shoulder separation. I was traded to the Lions for Joe Cap. And the first CFL-NFL trade, it would be great to see Nathan Rourke return to Canada.
How about that?
Before we get to the Trey Ford thing, what do you think? What do you think Nathan Rourke will do or should do? How do you see this plays out, Kevin?
I hope he comes back to the CFL. I think he just wants to play. No, I mean, he's bounced around here from roster to roster. Hasn't got much of a shot, really, when you think about it. But I don't think he's in that mindset that he wants to just keep bouncing around and going from team to team and not playing. He's obviously a great young quarterback still, but got to play. So hopefully he arrives back to the CFL and maybe he makes his way to Edmonton. Who knows?
Who should the Edmonton Elks start at quarterback in Sask on Saturday night?
Trey Ford, 100%. I would be stunned and shocked if McLeod Bethel Thompson gets the start. This team is in such disarray, Normie. I've never seen it anything like this. The team isn't drawing flies. Another 8,000-9,000 there again for last night's game. The only positive part of the whole evening was to see Trey Ford come in and mop it up in garbage time. And I mean, at that point, the Tiger Cats just wanted to get to the bus, get to the airport, and get the heck out of town. So yeah, he added some excitement. But I would have to say he has to be the guy that starts Saturday in Saskatchewan.
You know, it's interesting. Believe it or not, I follow a lot of what you say. And you talked about the baseball team outdrawing the football team. And I saw a photo from yesterday. Is that what's the name of that team? Because you got 2 teams.
It's the Edmonton River
teams, right? Okay. Did we lose them? Or is that me?
This is the West Coast League.
We had lost.
So you have the Western Major, Moose Jaw, and I mean, Melville had a team, and I mean, they've got teams in Okotoks, and the Dogs are probably the most successful franchise in that league. This is maybe one little step higher, and they are, I'm going to throw this one at you, Normie. So as you know, Eddie Steele is my co-host on Sports 1440. Last week I said to Eddie, I can't believe that I'm saying this, Eddie, but the Edmonton Elks are no longer the number 2 team in town. And I wasn't sure what response I was going to get from Eddie. And Eddie said, I think they're the number 4 team in town, behind the Edmonton Stingers, too. So the Riverhawks are at number 2. Obviously, the Oilers are at number 1. The Riverhawks, number 2. The Edmonton Stingers are number 3. They play their final game tonight. It's at the Expo Center. They call it the Flair Airlines hangar, the Hive. That's sold out. So I was shocked when Eddie said he thought that the Elks were number 4 in town. Never, ever thought I would say that.
Yeah. See you, boys. Thanks. Well, it's the Moose Jaw Millers. They train here every morning, by the way, Dick, just so you know. So, yeah, I don't have to use the facilities. They are. It's too busy for me to use.
Oh, boy.
But that's what I heard is that the CFL is feeling, they're threatened a little bit by these other summer leagues. They never really had to deal with that before. And as far as the attendance is one thing. Eddie thinks all the Elks have to do is win, and the fans will come back. You know that market better than me, is he right?
Partially. I think there's been so much damage done from the board of directors, from past presidents, chairs on the board. So we're talking at about a 4 or 5 year, and add the COVID year in there. So since 2019, there has been so much damage done to this franchise. It's almost irreparable. The new owner hopefully will be able to change the perspective, the outlook. I'm told that the new owner will have to be prepared to lose between $4 and $5 million per season if and when it gets turned around. 4 to 5 million.
At least. Well, here's the thing, Dick. You said you've been in Edmonton, well, for sure since at least 99, because I remember that was my first year with the Riders coming up, and I was with you in 99. When did you first get to Edmonton?
98. I got here in 98. I came from Calgary, so I was working at CTV Calgary in 97. So I worked there for a year and then came here in 1998.
Okay, well, the reason I say that is my first year with the Riders, we were 3-15, last place, empty stadium, horrible, pavement for turf, a quarterback that we didn't know if he was going to show up for games, Reggie Slack. That looks like a dream compared to what you guys got. In Edmonton, I can't imagine a team being worse off than they are right now. And with that owner, any chance they'd back out?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he backs out, I don't know what position they're in. I mean, there were a couple of other groups that were, kicking some tires here, and I discussed that with some members of that one of the groups, and I basically told them, I said, are you prepared to lose? Because there was more than just one guy, right? There was a conglomerate. I said, are you prepared to lose hundreds of thousands of dollars of your own money to get this thing turned around? And he was like, I guess I am, because I wouldn't have looked into it. But the owner that's going to be coming forward here has very deep pockets, and he's going to need them, because this is not a quick fix here. This is, you can look at everything moving forward. They got to pay Chris Jones still, again, another year. The head coach, who's it going to be next year? They had Jason Shivers, who he was the associate coach under Chris Jones. He doesn't get the head coaching job. It didn't make sense. So they have so many things to do here. It's not a 1 or 2 year fix here. It is, off the field it's way worse than on the field. That's how bad it is here.
I know. But I know all those guys very well. They're great coaches. I see talent on the field. I don't know what the hell's going. I don't know. I'm just glad that I don't have to broadcast it or try and find a path out. Listen,
Yeah, like Eddie comes on today, and he comes into the studio, and we both look at each other and we go, we don't even know what to say anymore. That's how bad it is.
Imagine being Morley and Dave, those poor suckers. Before we switch to the Oilers, I saw that they named a golf course after you, or a lake. Were they referring to Crooked Lake named after you, or what was the story?
No, Norby, no. There's a little lake at just a pond over at the Ranch Golf and Country Club, and I played with Murray McCourt and the boys for 20 years here, and I've been known to put a few balls into the 18th hole lake, so they named it Lake Karius, which was named after me, because when I golfed with Mike Riley and Matt Nichols and Murray in a tournament about 5-6 years ago, that's what the guy that was doing the MC, he said, and here's Kevin Karius, and he didn't know how to pronounce my last name.
So that's good. Kevin Karius. Yeah. Oh, I thought he's from Crooked Lake. They might have named might have named that after him, Crooked Lake. Okay. So, how are you on the Stan Bowman thing? Just fishing for opinions? He's there as the GM. I can't believe the backlash.
I was blown away. In the 10, 11 months, I guess we're almost 11 months into doing Sports 1440 on the morning show. I've never seen anything like it as far as our text line. We were getting probably 10 to 12 texts per minute, and most of them would have been negative. There were probably, I would say, at least 9 out of 10 were negative. And to the point where people were saying, I'm not going to renew my season tickets. I'm not coming back. I'm not going to go to the games. One particular, I remember, one guy said, I go to 8 to 10 games per season. I'm not going to those anymore because of this hire. I think this is a fluid situation. Stan Bowman's really going to have to put the work in here. He has to really push forward and get involved in, whatever advocacies are available to him. He's got to get on a board of SACE here, or whatever it is, to make it known that he is not just talking here. He's got to get out and get involved in the community, sexual abuse, victim abuse, anything like that. And he's got to keep taking it forward. And I think people I'm a believer of giving him a second chance, but he's got to earn it. He really needs to step forward here and do some good things for the community.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that hockey aside, that aside, I think it's a good hockey move.
Yeah.
Don't you?
Well, a lot of people, were doing a deeper dive into all the trades he made and the signings. He signed, Caleb Jones to that long-term deal, basically, which was the catalyst for, it was Rowinski and Nurse and Jones. They signed all these big, big contracts because they had a good COVID season at that. So, I mean, he was given a lot of great players when he took over the GM job in Chicago. A lot of those players were in place, but he also did make some moves. So I think this is one of those instances where I want to see what happens for a little while here. Let's see what moves he makes, what contracts he signs. So I want to leave the door open a little bit before I pass judgment, really.
Yeah. No, I know. Well, I think, number one, I think Jeff Jackson handled himself unbelievably well at that news conference. And Stan did pretty well, too. But, I mean, I'm an advocate for second chances, Dick. As you know, I screwed up pretty much everything I've ever touched. We got to have a chance to redeem ourselves. And I thought the bringing in the Sheldon Kennedy thing was a really nice touch. And I also know a lot of guys that played on the Blackhawks in that decade. They tell me there's way more to the story than's been reported. And I don't want to get into that, but you don't want to get on the wrong side of a movement or cancel culture either, right? So there's just a lot of this that we don't really know. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't think that this hiring happens without Sheldon Kennedy. Without Sheldon Kennedy coming on board and being in Stan's corner, and to the same extent because both Stan and Jeff Jackson talked to Kyle Beach as well. And Kyle Beach he's in support of this as well. So without that, there's no way this happens.
Oilers going to be better or worse this year, do you think?
Well, better. They have to be better. I mean, they have more depth now than they've ever had since, I've been covering this team, and you can go back even to the 80s. They haven't had this kind of depth where, like if you look at it, a player like Dylan Holloway, who's still carving his way and finding his way to be a regular, NHL contributor. He was on the second line in the Stanley Cup playoffs in the final. He's on the second line now. He's been pushed down to where he is slotted in at 3 or 4, wherever it is, but he still has the ability to press a guy like Jeff Skinner or whoever it might be on line number 3. So he's got that ability, and he's good enough to do it. So that's how deep they are. Obviously the defense, they could probably use one more defenseman, I think, moving down the road, depending on what happens as far as the contract situations go. But they have a goaltender that went all the way to the Stanley Cup final, Game 7. So, and Cal Pickard's a really good backup. So this team is going to be better than it was last year.
As Kevin Gallant would say, Dylan Holloway's father, Bruce, former Pat, Bruce Holloway. Got to get that in there, Dick.
And Melville Millionaire. And Melville Millionaire. Bruce played in Melville too, Normie.
How about that?
Serious?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Sure he did.
It's got Billings, Regina, Brandon, Kamloops Jr. Yeah. We got to get that. We got to petition Hockey DB and get it put in there.
Well, that's the thing. Hockey DB's hit and miss sometimes with a lot of its years and how people input their information. So I think if you go to Elite Prospects on that site, it'll tell you that he played in Melville in 78 or 79, I believe, somewhere in there.
Well, they got this guy, Kevin Karius, played in Melville, 64 games in 86, 87, 37 points, 203 penalty minutes?
How about that?
What the hell were you doing?
I'll tell you what was happening. I played defense that year, Norm, for the most part. And so out of those 200 penalty minutes, that would be 50 minors for guys skating past me and me slashing or tripping them. Right. And then the other 100 minutes would be telling the referee to go, himself on the way to the penalty box for 10-minute misconducts probably. Just kidding.
Back when they used to put 10s in the penalty, I'm glad they took 10s out. Because that's a joke. It doesn't count.
No, I don't think that was.
I
don't think that was the 10 minutes on there. No, that's
And a year at State as well, but we won't get into that. Fair winds, my friend. Have a great day. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, Normie. Appreciate it, buddy. Have a good one, big guy.
Yeah, Kevin Karius from Sports 1440 Edmonton.